What's up, YouTube? So we're going to have a little discussion today. Today's discussion is about yo-yo value. Hit that sweet, sweet intro music. Yo-yo values. Let's talk about that. Yo-yo is also sort of a collector's hobby, in addition to being a hobby where you play with toys. There's also a collector's aspect to it. If you think about it, there's a lot of brands that are pretty collectible. Yo-Yo Recreation, G Squared is pretty collectible right now. One Drop is pretty collectible, especially particular colorways and finishes and what have you. A lot of brands are pretty collectible as far as yo-yos and colorways and all that stuff is concerned, which is really cool. I think it's a really fun aspect of yo-yoing. I enjoy it. Particularly, I have a ton of yo-yos. And a lot of it is just basically because I like to collect things. And the value of yo-yos that I really wanted to talk about today. So let's kind of get into that a little bit. The first thing to talk about is sort of a supply-demand type of thing. So like in the instance of G Squared yo-yos, the supply of yo-yos is way lower than way lower than the demand is. The demand is way up here, but the supply is like, not that great. It's really whatever Jake can get done. So, he's just one guy trying to do stuff and get hundreds and hundreds of yo-yos out for people that want yo-yos, and he really just, can only get so many yo-yos out, but his yo-yos are really good and they're really popular. So, if you get one at a drop, it's pretty hard to get because they sell out pretty much instantly. And the resale value is like sometimes twice the retail price, which is great. That's a great position to be in, especially if you're G Squared yo-yos or a yo-yo collector or anything like that. That's something you're going to want because, one, it's going to retain its value and climb in value, but at the same time, it's also just a good investment overall. Either rare colorways or some custom colorways or have limited runs. Like, think of the Yo-Yo Freaks 100 series that's coming out right now. So, like, the Your Mom, the hashtag, the Pound, that stuff, it sold out really quick, and some colorways were really sought after. Some colorways were gone immediately. A lot of the Spacegasm ones seem to be gone, like, immediately. That and the Unicorn Splash ones and that kind of stuff, those were gone, like, immediately. And those have retained their value and sort of increased in value. Now, they were sort of budget priced anyway. I don't know about budget priced, that being the right word, but they were moderately priced to begin with. And a lot of people are getting a lot more out of them than they put into them as well because of how limited they were. There's only going to be 100, and that really kind of helps maintain the value of those yo-yos and helps sort of build a liking and a collector's aspect to those yo-yos because they are going to be limited and it's not something you're going to be able to get. It helps that they're really good yo-yos too. That's sort of the other thing, is that in order for something to be in demand, it has to be a good yo-yo off the bat. And a lot of smaller companies, or a lot of companies who have the ability to, are just doing smaller runs of stuff, and I think that's really good. And I think that's really good for the yo-yo community because what it does is it builds up these brands who don't necessarily release a bazillion yo-yos at a time for any one particular yo-yo, and it kind of makes something a little bit more special to have. The prices might be a little bit more than your standard stuff, but not much. I feel like the yo-yo prices are pretty static as far as stuff's concerned. Mono metals tend to be between 30 and 70 or 80 bucks for the most part, and bimetals tend to be somewhere between 75 and 150. So it's all kind of under 200. I mean, there are your rare cases of things that hit the 200 plus mark. A lot of titanium yo-yos go well over $200, but the market can only sustain so many titanium yo-yos, and there just aren't a ton of titanium yo-yos out there. Think about like Too Sick yo-yos. Now, you can usually get a Too Sick yo-yo if you're there when it drops. The Seraph just dropped, and most people were able to get it. They don't necessarily sell out instantly because the drops are usually a little bit larger than, say, like a G Squared drop would be. Those are usually only about 10 yo-yos at most. But Too Sick usually drops quite a few yo-yos, in quite a few different colorways when they do drop stuff. And they're great yo-yos, and you want to jump on them pretty soon right after they come out, because for the most part, they are going to sell out eventually, just maybe not within the first like 3 minutes of them being live. So those higher quality yo-yos that sort of have larger runs but aren't necessarily massive runs, I would say that's probably sort of my favorite type of thing, because it's pretty stressful to get like something that sells out really quick, like a G squared or one of those rare colorways from CLYW or something like that. Those are pretty hard to get, but to get what you want out of like Too Sick or a company of sort of that caliber that sponsors a team and stuff but still maintains runs big enough that there's going to be enough yo-yos available for a little while, that's kind of my favorite way of taking it. Or One Drop is a similar way. One Drop stuff, they don't do monster huge runs, but for the most part you can get what you want if you try to get it around when it comes out. And then, they eventually sell them all, and there isn't some huge backstock of them, and they either retire that and move on, or make another run but in different colors or what have you, to sort of preserve the specialness of the ones that have already come out, but also try to keep up with the demand so that everybody that wants one can get one, but at the same time you're not just blowing them all out at like no money when they stop selling and you've got all this backstock of yo-yos. Which sort of brings me to my next point, and kind of the reason I wanted to make this video. Some yo-yos and some yo-yo companies, it becomes rather difficult at some point to even consider buying a new release of theirs when it's new. Yo-yos aren't like video games where when it comes out it's at its premium price, but when it comes out, that's when you want to grab it, because that's when the most people are going to be playing online, that's when it's going to be the most competitive, and that's when you want to sort of get your reps in to build up your skills on it. Well, Yoyo's not like that. Yoyo's pretty static. You're not going to play any better on a brand new, just released Yo-Yo Factory than you would on a Yo-Yo Factory that came out last year. So, it's not the same as that's concerned. So if there's no real danger of the yo-yo selling out immediately, it almost doesn't behoove you to buy it immediately, because, and particularly for companies that do massive runs of yo-yos, a lot of times those yo-yos will either go on sale at some point in the very near future at like a really reduced rate, or if it doesn't sell well but you were interested in it anyway and it was like pretty good but just never caught on for whatever reason, maybe it came at a weird time or something, then they may end up just discontinuing it and then blowing it out at like a crazy low price. Here's a great example. So the Basecamp Navigator is $120 bimetal. Came out. I like the Basecamp Navigator very, very much. And when it came out, I reviewed it. I said, this is my favorite Basecamp. And it's probably still the best Basecamp. Now, nothing's come out after it. But at the time, I also said, at $120, I like it about 90 or 95% as much as I like the Yo-Yo Factory Edge, which was $100. And it's still $100. It's Evan DeGal's signature, and it's very popular still. So it hasn't really been blown out or anything. Well, for whatever reason, and I can't speculate one way or the other, but for whatever reason, when Yo-Yo Factory did their fall sale, they knocked the Navigator down to $50. Now that was great for me. I totally bought a Navigator at $50. That was awesome, and I was happy to have one for $50. But had I bought the Navigator 6 months prior at $120, man, would I have been upset. I'd have been livid had my $120 expenditure just a few months prior been basically cut down to dust, to nothing, over a sale point. And it's not like the sale was short. It was a week long, and it wasn't just the Navigator that went on sale, but although the Navigator was the biggest discount, it was, a ton of Yo-Yo Factory yo-yos. And to me, that's sort of one of those reasons why, do I want to take advantage of that type of stuff when stuff gets blown out at crazy low prices? Absolutely, and I do it all the time. However, that really reduces my incentive to want to buy a new Yo-Yo Factory Yo-Yo, or any company that does massive sales like that, brand new ever again, because why would I pay full price, new price of it, when I could for sure at least get a few bucks knocked off of it if I'm just patient a little bit, and probably whatever color I want. Or if I'm super patient enough, or if it's just something that I'm sort of on the edge about, why would I even take a chance at buying it when there's a pretty solid chance that it could just be entirely blown out for like $70 off of what it was previously? And I guess I'm at the point in my life where for me to buy a yo-yo, as long as I'm not buying like 2 a day every day, is not that big of an expenditure. And if I was to buy, one yo-yo every now and then or whenever, it's really not something that's gonna just be like, oh man, I really need to just eat ramen noodles now, or save up and stop buying all these yo-yos. Because it's like, they're not expensive. For the most part, they're cheaper than like a brand new video game would be. And I used to buy the crap out of those when I made a lot less money. So it's really sort of I don't know. I feel like it's a disservice to the collectors, and it ends up sort of being a disservice to the yo-yo community in general, because if I'm not going to buy a new Yo-Yo Factory sponsors a lot of contests and does a lot of good things, but if I don't feel like my money is going to be worth spending on these yo-yos, I know I'm not the only person, and there's other people who maybe are just going to also be like, that looks cool, but I'll just wait till it goes on sale. Because it's going to. It's not going to sell out and never be made again. It's going to go on sale at some point, and you're going to be able to get it in just about whatever color you want to get it in, and it won't be difficult to do, and you just got to be patient and wait for it to go on sale. So, to me, that's sort of a disservice to the yo-yo community, because what it's doing is it's taking money away from Yo-Yo Factory, because they paid to have those yo-yos made, and Yo-Yo Factory sponsors a lot of contests and a lot of players, and I want Yo-Yo Factory to succeed and have money to sponsor contests and players and all that stuff, because they do a great job at it. But when they're over making $120 bimetals and having to blow them out for $70 off what the original price was, not necessarily having to, but putting them on sale for $70 off what the original price was, that's kind of they're losing money on that. I don't know if they're losing money, but they're certainly not making as much money as they could have otherwise, or they just sort of over-projected how popular it would be. And by doing that, they have less revenue to sponsor less contests, sponsor less players, and everybody hurts by that. So, and I'm not just picking on Yo-Yo Factory, I don't want to pick on them. They're hardly the only people that do this, or hardly the only yo-yo company that does this. But it's a good thing to point out, because I have a Navigator, and I bought it because it was $70 off what it was initially marked as. And if you notice now, you've seen the market sort of, particularly the used market, drop out on the Navigator. And people are trying to sell them for, basically that $50 mark, although there's still tons in stock at Yo-Yo Expert and wherever else they're in stock, just at, the normal $120 price point. And that hurts Yo-Yo Expert too, because they were on sale at $50, most people within the community, and we're a small community, knew that. If they wanted one, they bought one at $50. Now, I don't know how many Yo-Yo Expert has sold since they blew them out at $50, but I would venture a guess to say that it's probably not been many, if any at all. And so they've got a bunch of $120 bimetals just sitting there on their shelves, taking up space. I know SW Randall's got one or two lying around, and it's going to be hard for them to get rid of now too, because they had some that they paid their half retail or whatever. They paid $60 to put the retail ones out, and Yo-Yo Factory blew them out under what retail stores like SW Randall and Yo-Yo Expert paid. So it's hard to look at that as from a value perspective and decide, oh yeah, I'm going to make sure I get something when it first comes out, because that's probably not a good idea. And it trickles down and sort of hurts everybody else overall, and that's not something you want to happen. value in yo-yo is important. We're not a large enough community and the yo-yos aren't in enough retail stores for there to be just such an expansive volume of every different kind of yo-yo. So I really think the companies need to do a better job at sort of retaining the value of the yo-yos to make sure that my money that goes into it is worth it. And you know what? I think budget metals are great. If you want to make a yo-yo and sell it at $30 and make a zillion of them so you can do that, that's awesome. I like those. I like yo-yos I can beat around, but at the same time, yo-yos that are meant to be high-end need to be able to retain their value. Otherwise, we're just hurting the community overall, and manufacturers and yo-yo companies, etc., are hurting the community and hurting themselves by doing that. But that's going to do it for me today, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. I put up videos every day, sometimes even 2. I'm crazy. I am that crazy. I put up 2 videos in a day sometimes. What's up with that? That's going to do it for me today, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers to you. I will see you next time.